Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Raja Faisal, and I'm a journalist anchor at PTV. Today we are holding. So today's topic of discussion it will be very interesting. Normally, what happens is whenever it comes a talk about 1971 war, we keep on tending towards highlighting the odd factors, which is obviously, we know that in 1971 war, two of the Pakistan, East Pakistan and West Pakistan, they were made to go on their own ways. Obviously the massive reason behind it was that our neighboring India that existed in between both of the East and the West Pakistan, it always tried that both of the Pakistan can be parted, because the bigger Pakistan and both of the Pakistan together, it was not feasible for India, and that is how it happened. But today's topic is reckoning the heroes and apprising India's posture on disenfranchisement. Why we've chosen this topic? Because normally we never highlight the heroes who actually fought for the cause of Pakistan in 1971 war. They were out there thousands of miles away, and they were fighting for Pakistan. They were fighting for the green flag, regardless of being in East Pakistan or West Pakistan. It's not only about army personnel. It was about the civilians over there as well, who were out there fighting because they knew for the fact that India is behind Mukti Bahini, and India is the one who was actually arming them, then training them, and then sending them in. And obviously proofs were always there regarding it. And I think it is very important for the generations to come to know that what went wrong in there, and how gallantly our forces, they fought there. But of course, fate was not with them at that time. But I always say that we need to look into what General Manik Shah once said, that if we talk about the Pakistan army, they fought gallantly, but the only reason they couldn't cope with it was that they were not being, obviously they were far away from the West Pakistan. And when it comes to their reinforcements, they had problems. But as long as they were there, they fought till last. And I think this is what needs to be highlighted. There are several stories, there are many stories, which of course I know, but I want all of you to know from someone who's very relevant. And today we are very lucky to have with us Major retired Raja Shahryar, who himself is a veteran, and his father, he actually fought 1971 war. And in that war, of course, he was in East Pakistan, and he fought till last. And what I want to do is, I don't want to, start telling you about the story, because I want you to know the story from Major Shahryar himself. So, sir, floor belongs to you, and we really want to know what happened and how you take it as the fight of Pakistan Army in 1971 war, sir.
Thank you so much, Faisal. I'm privileged. It's a pleasure to be speaking through COPAIR on such a wonderful subject, 1971 war and heroes of 1971 war. Pakistan's history is full of heroes. I mean, 65, 1948, the in-between period. But 71, because 1971, we were fighting a war which was initiated by our enemy much before the year 1971 itself. So before I come to the heroes and the story briefly about my father and some other heroes, I just want to highlight the Indian strategy, which is continuing till today, by the way. I believe that this, we have to understand that India, since our inception, since creation of Pakistan, has been out to somehow, affect our unity, affect our, in all forms, it is out to get us. And 1965 war, before that, Kashmir, the Kashmir war, and then ultimately 1971 war, they're all evidence of that. I see this strategy of the Indian state in three different parts. The first part is the pre-1971 period. The second part, of course, the middle part or the highlight is 1971 war. And then the post-1971 period, which is continuing till today. So their strategy, which evolved after 1971 war, I think that they evolved it after 1971 war. But the basic concept, the basic foundation was laid in early 60s. Now, their strategy or policy is, you see, when we talk about a state's national security, when we look at a state's national security, so I believe that a state's national security is directly proportional to the mindset of the nation. You see, the nation itself, the kind of mindset a nation has, that's very, very relevant to the national security of the state. So India targeted the mindset of our nation. It targeted the unity of our nation, and that's what it followed, and that's what it initiated in early 60s by brainwashing or using the subversive elements in East Pakistan, and using the ethnicity, using the linguistic barriers between West and East, and then igniting or initiating this division between within the nation. They started this in 60s, and it evolved into a proper terror sponsoring campaign in which they trained Mukti Bani, they brainwashed the leaders, they brainwashed I don't believe that it was the majority of Bengalis. I believe that a certain part of the Bengali nation, they used them, and they. So then we come to 1971 war. So the climax was that, targeting the unity of Pakistani nation. They knew that if the nation is not united, then the nation is not strong. If the nation is not united, then the nation is weak. So that was the basic policy. That was the basic strategy that led to 1971 war. And we all know that, because of our problems, otherwise we could have defeated Indian army. I mean, it took them 10 months till December 1971 to actually put us on a back foot. And if it was just the Indian army, then it wouldn't have been a problem. But the problem was that they initiated this subversion and created this barrier or this difference between Pakistanis, the Bengali Pakistanis and the West Pakistanis, the Bihari Pakistanis, the Punjabi Pakistanis, the Pathan Pakistan. So they created that, and that's why Pakistan Army faced problems in East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh. And that's why they succeeded in, getting us to surrender. There are other, of course, the other things also related to that. They created some hijacking of an Indian airline plane, and preempted us. So they were moving with a strategy, and they were they knew that once the war initiates, then we would like to, support the East Pakistan army that's deployed there through using the airspace of India. So they created that incident of hijacking and, cut off the airspace. So we had logistic problems. We had no, as you said, that there was no logistic support there was no option of logistic support from the West Pakistan. So, but coming back again, the basic target was the unity, and that is what defeated us. Now, I'll come to the heroic actions of 1971 war, but I want to send out a message here today. Why we are talking about the heroes of Pakistan? Because the Indian strategy is continuing even after 1971 war. They are still targeting the unity of Pakistan, the unity of Pakistani nation. And that has evolved into, they saw that in 1971, they succeeded in doing that. They succeeded in dividing Pakistan. So they now understood that this policy is, successful. So that's why they are still continuing, and that's why they are targeting if there are any fault lines or if there are any differences, then they are out to exploit them. And that's why we have Balochistan problems, some problems in Balochistan. That's why, they targeted our FATA region through terror sponsoring and that's how they're creating some ethnic political parties. That's why they support linguistic differeces. So as Pakistanis, we must understand that unity is the target, and we must. So how to achieve, how to work, how to strengthen this unity? One way is recognizing our heroes. One way is identifying our national heroes, who are not provincial heroes, or they are not ethnic heroes. They are not heroes of just the Punjabis or just the. So national heroes is one form of like in cricket. You saw the cricketing heroes united us. Muhammad Rizwan, Babar Azam, and the whole nation got. So national heroes, that concept, I think that we must highlight. We must speak more about national heroes. We must, talk about the military heroes as well as other national heroes. We must identify them, and we must highlight them, and we must tell our new generations who are these national heroes, why they are national heroes, and why we all take them as national heroes. Okay, thank you. So now I'll come to I want to talk about the 1971 war itself, where my father and other officers also performed exceptionally. There's no, like you said, General Manik Shaw, there are other writers as well. There are other experts of military who have studied this war and who have acknowledged how bravely Pakistan Army fought, and how, tactically as well as operationally, we could not have been defeated if we had a logistic base, if we were connected with the West Pakistan, or if the Bengali nation was Pakistani nation and they supported Pakistan Army. So that is one. The other aspect that I want to also talk about is General Niazi. There's also a lot of talk about, and this is what Indians use. They use that picture of General Niazi signing the surrender document or the ceasefire document, and they've used it to embarrass us time to time. So we have to also see that an embarrassed nation is a defensive nation, and unless we tell our new generation who General Niazi was, what General Niazi actually did, the plan that General Niazi had for defense of Dhaka is one of the most, military history experts have studied that plan, And they consider it to one of the most brilliant plans of defense of Dhaka. And as a military leader, he was exceptional. He was known to be a very brave and exceptional military leader. So, but Indians have embarrassed us to used his personality because he was the head of military there in East Pakistan, and he was required to sign that document. So we have, India's theme. We have accepted that, and we are embarrassed to talk about even General Niazi, who was a brilliant soldier. So you see, there are many other examples. There are many other senior officers who were very much involved in the strategy and all, but we have never heard about them. We've never discussed them because, as I said, we have taken it to become an embarrassed nation, and thus a defensive nation in our strategies, in our response to India. We have never written about the 1971 war heroes, not a lot. I mean, we have written about them, but it has always been a defensive posture related. And that has affected the national psyche. And so the national psyche, as I believe, has become an embarrassed psyche where 1971 war is concerned. And that needs to be changed. That is what the first thing we need to focus on, that we are a very proud nation. We must be proud about our heroes. We must be proud about how we fought different wars, how we defended our country on all fronts, not just military, in every front. Till the time we don't get that pride back, we will not be able to defeat the enemies who are trying to harm Pakistan. Right. So now, 30FF, my father's unit, was raised in 1969. Newly raised PIFR unit. CO was Colonel Shakur Jan, later promoted brigadier. He was from SSC. My father was parent unit 6FF, famous 6FF because of its Nishane Haider Shabir Sharif Shaheed. My father joined 6FF in 1956, fought 1965 war with 6FF. He won the Pride of Performance in 1960 as officer of 6FF. He was a captain then. He conquered Marshal Broom 1 in 1959 and was... in 1969, he was posted to this newly raised battalion, 30FF, as second in command. He had recently returned from Staff College, Camberley, so he was posted there to raise this new unit. But within a year, the army thought that this unit should move to East Pakistan, and March 1971, this newly raised battalion was taken to defend Dhaka. And initially, they were deployed in March 1971. They were deployed to defend or protect the Dhaka airport. Once they were deployed there, they were required to carry out some other operations as well. One of that operations was famous Charas Lal operation, which was led by Major Raja Javed Akhtar, the second in command. He took a company force to about 40 kilometers away from, 40 miles away, 40 miles away from the Dhaka city. And they walked till there. They crushed a rebellion there, which was, basically East Bengal Rifles rebellions who were, that was one operation that was successfully conducted by 30FF under Major Raja Javed. 30FF was then moved to Sylhet sector. Sylhet is, as you know, northeast of, East Pakistan or Bangladesh, which is now Bangladesh. And they were moved there to at a place called Dhaloi. Dhaloi is a series of tea gardens, mounds and tea gardens. And it's famous for its, wonderful tea gardens. And because of its higher ground, there was a border outpost that was established there, so that it was higher than the rest of the terrain. So they were using it to keep an eye on across the border. So 30FF was deployed to protect that area, Dhaloi, and because the area was more, and there was only one infantry battalion which was required to cover a lot of area. And so they were quite pressed for men. And in military terms or in operational terms, we call it a one battalion, which usually we have 2 companies up and 2 companies in depth, but where we are required to go on an elongated front, then we go and 3 companies up. But this was almost 3 companies plus up, and a smaller company minus as reserve that was kept by 30FF. The battalion headquarters and the company reserve was in the depth, and 3 companies plus were placed on an elongated front. Of course, the companies were commanded by different officers, but the border outpost, Dhiloi itself, was protected by 3 platoons under the command of Second Lieutenant Mushtaq Nawaz Kiani. Now, Mushtaq Nawaz Kiani was a very young officer. He had recently been posted from Pakistan Military Academy, and hardly 2 months in service, and very young. And he was deployed there to protect the BOP. Indians initially tasked the East Bengal rebels to attack and take this BOP. East Bengal rebels attacked it. Almost 3 attacks were led by the East Bengal Rifle rebels, and they were all repulsed, and 30FF very successfully was defending the Dhiloi area. I must also tell you that during these attacks, and there was an incident where one of our 30FF officers, Captain Khusro, was moving from one point to another, and he was, ambushed by the East Bengal rebels, and he embraced Shahadat there. But because of this strong stance by 30FF, they were named, or they were called as the Khans, and the Indians gave them this name. And finally, once they saw that the rebels cannot take on a regular battalion like 30FF, and they were failing after 3 attacks, Indians decided to go for a brigade attack with their regular army. Now, this was almost end of October, 29th of October 1971. And Indians attacked initially with 1 brigade, which was repulsed. Then they attacked with another brigade the second day, which was again repulsed. And I tell you, this is amazing. Once, as an infantry officer myself, once I study this operation in detail, and how, brigade after brigade and infantry battalion repulsing them is amazing. Finally, they decided to go for a division with 2 brigades attack, and some rebels supported by an infantry battalion to go behind the defense line and put a blocking position. And they successfully did that. I mean, rebels found a gap, and with an infantry battalion, Indian Army infantry battalion, they encircled the front companies and created a blocking position in the rear. And at that time, then the infantry brigades attacked the front position. It was a very well fought defense. 30FF lost almost 100 plus soldiers in that one single day, and but they continued to fight. And Major Raja Javed Akhtar at this point was in the battalion headquarters, and once he saw that the front troops have been encircled, and there is a blocking position in the rear as well, so he decided to go for a counterattack to create a gap for the front, the position infantry of companies to create a gap for them to withdraw back, because you see they had suffered so many casualties and so many attacks had been repulsed. So they finally decided to withdraw and go for a defense on another location. But because Indians had put a blocking position between the front and the rear, so Major Raja Javed decided to go for a counterattack on the blocking position to create a gap. He took almost 20 men from the battalion headquarters and went forward to counterattack this blocking position. And as the soldiers who were with him at that time, some of them I met later when I joined the unit.
I think we've lost you, sir. I think we have our president with us, President Amna Munwar Malik. We can wait for Major Shariar. He will continue later on, but meanwhile, we can have the input of President of COPAIR, Central Pakistan and International Relations. Recently, she was awarded Women Business Leaders Award from Government of Sri Lanka, and we want to obviously highlight that as well. Congratulations! It's just another feather to already you having a crown that is full of awards. It's this year it started with the Pride of Pakistan and it continued. And I think a year is about to end, but your list of awards is still continuing. And I just wanted to highlight here that President Amna Munwar Malik, she happens to be a daughter of a veteran as well. Her father, he had served Pakistan Army as well, and he fought for Pakistan. And we would like our president to highlight that as well. And on regarding this topic, I'm inviting her to catch up the mic and please enlighten us.
Thank you very much, Raja Faisal. You are always very kind, and today is a topic which is very close to my heart because my father also fought during this war, and we lost East Pakistan. It is a national tragedy. And this is something which is very close to my heart because whenever I see any kind of disintegration in Pakistan, some kind of resistance against the state institute, so this is something which really break my heart because the families whose parents fought and some families lost their parents during this war, they actually realize the intensity of the situation and they don't want it to be happened again. So I was listening to Raja Shahryar Saab, and we would like to listen him more once he join us again. And I'm also thankful to Ms. Athar Kazmi. Maybe he will join us later. Abdul Samad Saab and Shabana Pyas Saiba. She's also very kind that she joined us. So this is a very important topic. And it's not only that we are going to see the historical perspective, what we lost out of this war. And this is also something which is relevant to the current situation of Pakistan as well. Because we listen nowadays hybrid warfare, the words of propagandas. So this is not something which is a current trend. This has been done earlier as well, and East Pakistan is also the example where the role of propaganda further intensified the conflict, and then that conflict turned into disintegration of one part of Pakistan. So I believe that we need to learn a lesson, but there are certain factions in Pakistan who are somehow compromise their national interest, and they are working against the interest of Pakistan. So those somehow using the wrong perspective of their ethnic identity, they are using it in a negative manner. So here we need to discuss that part as well. And finally, we would like to discuss and appreciate our those martyrs, our those family members, our those veterans who really participated in the war, what happened to them, and we need to dedicate on the behalf of our think tank their services. So, and I believe Pakistan Army as an institute played a very important role. So when we talk against any individual of Pakistan Army, so actually we are hitting Pakistan Army. So Pakistan Army is an institution, and we need to present a very positive role, because this digital media is somehow playing a negative role as well. So our kids, a special message to our youth, that when they use the media, our civil society, they have to be really careful, because if they are not careful and they write some statement, that statement is, misinterpreted by another part of the world, and then this lead to many complications for the image building of Pakistan. So our center of Pakistan and international relation is actually working and really dedicated to build the positive image of Pakistan, not only at the domestic level, but also at the international level. So my all friends, I would like you to welcome at this webinar, and Raja Shariar Sahab, I was listening to you. Thank you very much. And I know your family compromise for this country, how much you did for your country. Our salute is to your family dedication and participation. And we are proud of you. And we are proud of other people whose families suffered. And we need to take a lesson that if we are together, we should work on social cohesion. We should work on national integration. We are Pakistan. So if we want to see for our kids' future, so it is in Pakistan, and it is only happen that if we play our role at the individual level and at the collective level. So I think that from today's webinar, our main objective is that we should look around and we try to build the positive image of Pakistan. We should not repeat the history. So thank you very much for all the participants who joined us today. That let's pray that our country prosper, and our military institute, Pakistan Army, is one of the best army, and it should always sustain its image like this. Amin. Thank you very much. Pakistan Zindabad, Pakistan Army Findabad.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And we are certainly proud of you and your father as well. Obviously, your father was a war veteran. 1971, he fought. And I think we are appreciated towards that. I just wanted the viewers to know that first we'll go towards Major Shariar again, but I just want everyone to know that we have somebody with us today. As we know that, fifth generation war, hybrid war is still going on from the Indian side. And when it comes to Balochistan, or when it comes to northern sides of Pakistan, of course, they have been injecting their defensive offense on and on. But we have somebody who on the Indian media constantly appears and deciphers the Indians' propaganda. Especially everyone must remember the very recently Arnab Goswami, who happens to be one of my friends as well. He said that on 5th floor of Serena in Kabul, ISI was there and was fighting. He was basically propagating against ISI. And our friend here, Abdul Samad Yaqub, who happens to be a part of PTI, the ruling party of Pakistan, he was there and he said to them, I know Serena Hotel and there are only 2 floors of Serena. So I want the viewers to wait for him. But first, we want to go towards Major Shariar once again. I just wanted to highlight one more thing. As we had Major Raja Javed Shaheed, he fought 1971 war. There is a similar kind of war again going on in Pakistan, especially in Balochistan. And I want to highlight one fact, that when it comes to Major Shariar, he has extensively served in Balochistan, and I would like him to share them experiences as well with us, that what is going on right now. But before that, I want him to continue with the story of his father. And then there is another one, another story I want him to highlight about Lieutenant Colonel Raja Sultan, if he can, please.
Gee, thank you so much, Raja Faisal. I had some technical issues, so I got disconnected. I'm sorry for that. And yes, so coming back to 30FF action and Major Raja Javed Akhtar, his counterattack. With 20 men, he attacked that blocking position. And you see, I served in the same battalion, 30FF. I was there 2IC as well back in 2004-05. So I have my name written on the same board as my father. He was the first second in command, and I had the honor or the pleasure of being the second in command of the same battalion, which after 1971 war was named Dhaloi Tigers for their exceptional bravery and gallantry and the way they fought. Raja Javed Akhtar led this 20-man team to the position where this block was established, and the soldiers, what they told me later on, who survived that attack, I think 3 or 4 of them survived that battle, so who were part of that party. So they told me that they came to a point where they received MG fire, machine gun fire from a location, and they were pinned down, and they started crawling towards this position. Now, this position was from where the machine gun fire was coming, was a compound, was a walled compound. So when they reached closer to this compound, Major Raja Javed, who was the commander of that party, decided to jump into that compound himself. And with him, there was one Naib Subedar, who later became Subedar Major of the battalion. He was also with him. So as per this Naib Subedar, who later, I met him in 2004 as a retired Subedar Major, he narrated this incident that Raja Javed Akhtar jumped into the compound, and Naib Subedar Mukarrab was following him. And once he got over the wall, he saw that Major Raja Javed was in a hand-to-hand combat with at least, in his words, 10 Mukti Bani and Indian soldiers. And when he came to the wall, or on top of the wall, Major Javed motioned to him that don't come in, there are too many. This is the story what he narrated to me. So I mean, I take his words for that. And at that point, he was hit by a bullet and he fell backward out of the compound. That was the last that anybody saw of Major Raja Javed Akhtar. And he, when he narrated this, he told me that the Mukti Bani and Indian soldiers had their bayonets, and Major Saab was fighting them hand to hand. So this is where this battle ended. The counterattack failed because almost 17, 18 soldiers of that counterattack were embraced Shahadat, and a lot of 30FF soldiers were taken POW. Some of them withdrew back towards Sylhet and then back to Dhaka, but they were not. The battalion was very much depleted. They had lost a lot of soldiers, and they lost 4 officers, including their second in command. So although they did take part in further operations in December 1971 war, but they were in a depleted condition. So that was Dhaloi operation and the story of Major Raja Javed Akhtar. I met his GOC, who was later, General Qazi. I met him when I passed out from Pakistan Military Academy in '88. And as per the GOC, the citation for this action for Major Raja Javed was for Nishan-e-Haider. But that was lost in the ceasefire and surrender, as per him. So it was a heroic action, like so many other actions. And as you mentioned, Lieutenant Colonel Sultan Mahmud, Raja Sultan Mahmud, Let me tell you that when we were, after 1972, 73, Pakistan Army, in 1979, made a special Shaheed officers colony for the families of Shaheed officers. They made a colony in Rawalpindi. And so we were also given a house there. And so we grew up with other families of Shaheed officers. And one of those families was the family of Lieutenant Colonel Raja Sultan Mahmud. And I remember going to their house because Colonel Sultan Mahmud's younger son was my age, and we grew up together. And I used to go to their house regularly, like other houses as well. So I remember seeing Lieutenant Colonel Raja Sultan Mahmud's portrait, his picture, and also write-up on top of which was written Sultan of Sultans. And I could never, forget that line, the Sultan of Sultans. And it was very, for me, I wanted to know, because about my father I knew, but that line made me, read and to find out more about what Colonel Raja Sultan Mahmud did. And let me narrate that incident as well. By the way, his youngest son, he had 2 sons and 1 daughter. The youngest is joined PMA with me. He's now serving Lieutenant General Noman Mahmud, Raja Noman Mahmud. And I had the honor of knowing the family, to understanding them, and growing up with Lieutenant General Noman Mahmud. He's as exceptional as his brave father was. So Colonel Raja Sultan Mahmud was commanding 22 Baluch, 31 Baluch in 71 war. His parent unit was 22 Baluch. And during his command, and this was, I think, 6th December 1971, that one of our major generals, General Nazar, was traveling from one point to another, and CO-31 Baluch, Colonel Raja Sultan Mahmud, received information from the brigade headquarters that the general has been ambushed by the enemy and has been taken hostage. Colonel Sultan Mahmud decided at once that he has to rescue the general and he has to lead the party himself, understanding the dynamics of the war, understanding the area, understanding that he knew that this is a very important task and he cannot leave it to anybody else, and he has to lead it himself. So he took 1 infantry company straight away, moved to the location where the ambush had taken place, and tasked the other company commanders to follow. And you must understand that as a commanding officer of an infantry battalion, it is not necessary always to go for such tasks himself. He could have tasked one of the company commanders, and later he could have, with the other 2 companies. But that in itself says a lot about his leadership. He was somebody who would lead from the front. He would always, and I've read about him, so he would always be leading. He would never leave it to others. So he took this company, he reached the location of the ambush, and once they reached there, they found out that that location was now, properly being defended by the Indian Army. They had dug out their defensive system, and they were properly placed to defend that locality. So on night 7th December, they reached there and received fire from the Indian side. And so this battle, exchange of fire, continued for about 7-8 hours. And in the early hours of 8th December, Colonel Raja Sultan Mahmud decided that they cannot wait any longer, because as per information, the general was hostage with Indian at that location. So he decided that he would go for a all-out attack. Taking 1 platoon, he attacked one position, leading again himself. He was the first man to reach the Indian trenches, and he jumped into one of the trenches, and as per the information or the soldiers that were with him, he was in a hand-to-hand combat with a very strong young Indian captain. Now you understand Lieutenant Colonel's age and a young captain of that. But he did it, and he shot that Indian captain. And meanwhile, while they were engaged in this hand-to-hand combat, one of the JCOs with a burst of stained gun, Colonel Raja Sultan Mahmud embraced Shahadat there. Another thing, Faisal, I want to tell you here that, my father's body was not received. Colonel Raja Sultan Mahmud's body was not received. Almost, I would say 95 to 90, no soldiers, no officers were returned back to West Pakistan. They are still, till today, buried in the same land, which was East Pakistan and is now West Pakistan. So none of us, the families of these Shaheeds, had ever received their loved ones, and we didn't get a chance to bury them ourselves. So this is part of the, the sacrifice. It was not that we sacrificed our lives, our officers, our Jawans sacrificed their lives, but the families also sacrificed. They never got to see their loved ones again, never got a chance. And in our culture, in our religion, once you get a chance to bury your loved ones, I'll say it in Urdu, ke kehte hain na, tasalli aa jati hai. But that we never got that chance. Alhamdulillah, we know that they are with Allah, and they are at a very high stature. But that is one of the sacrifices that the Shaheeds' families of East Pakistan, they performed. Now, as you said about, let me now relate it to Balochistan. As I initially said to you, that Indian strategy, Indian policy is to target the unity of this nation. That they started this in early 60s. They were successful in 1971. So using that as a model, they have continued to target our unity and our mindset. And that mindset, they have, using 1971 war, they have actually, attacked the psyche of our nation, not just, creating fault lines in our unity, but also, putting us on a defensive psyche or an embarrassed psyche due to 1971. So it is again in play in Balochistan. I served in Balochistan. I have served as a Frontier Corps officer. I have commanded 2 wings there, Frontier Corps wings. After retirement as a corporate security specialist, I have done security assessments and analysis of different parts of Balochistan. I am very, very, current on the happenings of Balochistan. So like East Pakistan, just like East Pakistan, Balochis are as very, very patriotic nation, very highly. I've lived with them, I've seen them. But you see, once the enemy gets a chance to create some subversion, they target those little groups that are not the majority, but are minority, but they use them to create, bigger fault lines. And this is what is happening there. There are very few, very, very few. I have traveled from Chaman till, Noshki, and I've seen the Kharan region. I've met the people there. I have lived in Dera Bukti and Pir Ko. I've been to the Pir Ko ranges. I have interacted with the Murri tribe, the Bukti tribe people as well. They are highly patriotic, highly patriotic.
I think we've lost Major Saab once again. Whenever he comes back, but I think meanwhile we can go towards Abdul Samad Yaqub. He happens to be my friend. We were talking yesterday about the topic, and we did talk about quite a few angles, and I think he had a few stories as well to tell, and I would request him to highlight why India is still propagating on the same lines, the ones they used in 1970 and 1971 to separate Pakistan from Bengal.
Well, Rai Sahab, thanks for the invitation. And first of all, when the war is fought, the conclusion of the war is always either a victory, defeat, or a stalemate. But when what is the mindset of the soldier on the battlefield is, irrespective of the result or a conclusion or the decision from the top, we have observed that the mindset of soldier is like to fight till the last man, last breath, last bullet. And this is what we have observed in East Pakistan, in Bangladesh now. And obviously, as you have referred, the General Sam Manekshaw, he was when the anchor Karan Thapar was glorifying this victory and the strategy of Manekshaw, I would say, I mean, he was not reluctant at all, General. This credit goes to the Manekshaw. He was not reluctant. He categorically said that the Pakistan army had fought gallantly. I mean, gallantly, and he said that the difference was the ratio of 1 and 15, either 50 or 15. I'm confused. But he said that they had no chance. I mean, on the battlefield, they had no chance because the supply line was cut off. And he said that we were fighting, we were preparing for this war from last 8 months. When the Indira Gandhi Prime Minister, Prime Minister called him and asked him that we have to fight against Pakistan immediately, Manekshaw replied that, sorry, I am unable to fight within a month. It will take at least 8 months to get prepared to go for the war. And then he said that the way the Pakistan, and he referred one of the army officer, Captain S.M. Malik. He praised him. I mean, it is no doubt that we fought gallantly. There could be multiple aspects that about the conclusion, the militarily aspect, the militarily competency, or political aspects, or multiple aspects. But that is another debate. That is a long debate, and that is something like I don't want to go into that detail. But the fact of the matter is, when the Prime Minister Imran Khan said when we used to win the match, we couldn't learn from the victory, but whenever we are defeated, we have learned a lot of lesson from that defeat. And this is the point, this is the moment. And there are always in the history of nation that yes, you have a setbacks, and what you need to do is you need to learn from that setbacks so that you get prepared for the future. And this is what we have done. I mean, not a single moment, or not a single day India has won on any front when he confront the Pakistan, whether it is a Kargil, whether it is some skirmishes on the borders. Never they had won, and not even on the fifth this hybrid war. I mean, they have put all the resources in Balochistan, and yet there is no no success at all which they can claim. I mean, this is the embarrassing moment for them. The same embarrassing moment which was faced by Arnab Goswami. So I mean, we are prepared, we are ready, we are even united. Whenever, no matter how polarized our society is, no matter how divided we are, but once it comes to the India, we all are united. I mean, we are more united, we more energetic, and we will fight them we will not, I mean, we can, perhaps we can, we could have get defeated by the whole world, but we cannot be defeated by India. I mean, this is a clear message to them. This is a clear message. I mean, we will never. And then there was a, I would also, there was unsung heroes. I mean, when you get defeated or when you lost your country, I mean, this East Pakistan, we do not discuss the heroes, unsung heroes. There was a Colonel Salman, and his mate was, I don't remember his name, but he got martyred in the battle, whose son name was Bilal. And before the night he got martyred, he asked this Colonel Salman that if in future, if you have a son, name it on my name, Bilal. And by the way, not only Colonel Salman, but also General Pervez Musharraf named his son after Bilal. So, I mean, this is, I mean, and the credit of this webinar goes to you, because the topic is excellent. I mean, we always on a different forum, on a TV or on a social media, we always discuss that how had we lost the war, or how had we lost the East Pakistan, but we never discuss these. We never give any credit to those who fought. I mean, they are actually heroes which need to be discussed, which need to be glorified. So if there is any other question, you can ask me.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to highlight one more thing, and I wanted to know from you. You know, during this webinar, we have concluded one thing. As Manik Shaw once said, that the distance for reinforcement, it was too much to cover for the West Pakistan to come to East Pakistan, or say East Pakistan at that time, Bengal. To me, I think for last 20 years, especially post 9/11, when India saw an opportunity on the Western front of Pakistan, of course, they employed every resource they had to wage a war against Pakistan, a clandestine war, I must say it. They tried to exploit the fault lines on our western border. And if there were no fault lines, they created them fault lines. They invested there big time. And defensive offense, as once at Shastra University, while giving an address to the students, Ajit Doval, he boasted about it. And he said that we are running ourselves through a doctrine called defensive offense, in which they will wage a war against Pakistan, within Pakistan, using the fault lines. And of course, the fragile situation, the security situation of Afghanistan was stalemate for them. And they exploited it, they used it, while they were portraying as they are, you know, part of rebuilding Afghanistan. They were not rebuilding Afghanistan, rather they were waging a war against Pakistan. But I believe what they did in Bengal just before 1971, creating Mukti Bahinis, then taking them into India in West Bengal and training them and investing on them, and then trying to lure the Bengali soldiers of Pakistan Army. Successfully, they got few of them and they used them against Pakistan. And it, obviously, when there is a rebellion within the army ranks, it gets really hard. But now situation was that the same tactics they started using in Baluchistan and in obviously northern sides of the KPK, I mean TTP. They have been extensively investing in both of the fault lines, and they even tried to invest in Karachi as well. We know for a long time the situations or security situations of Karachi, they were very fragile. But with the better strategies, Pakistan has, of course, countered this menace of terrorism. But, you know, to me, I think whatever they successfully did in East Pakistan, they kept on trying for 20 years to do it in West Pakistan, but they were unsuccessful. The reason behind it is that, as Manik Shah once said, that there was a 1,000-mile apart distance. That distance is not here. And I think Indian forgot to recognize that. In them days, there was a distance, but now there is no distance. And I think this is why India needs to understand now. What would you say about this? That today's Pakistan, of course, knowing the facts of the previous history, especially 1971, shouldn't be more cautious about whatever is going on within Pakistan and trying to figure out that these sort of fault lines, when they get used, which me and you, whenever, and Athar would be joining us very soon as well. Me, you, and Athar, we constantly appear on Indian media, and we hear these things from their anchors, from their participants, from their generals, from their retired majors. You know, they keep on talking about these things, and we know that they are trying to exploit the fault lines. Shouldn't we, as Pakistanis, civilian Pakistanis or armed Pakistanis, we should be extra cautious about these things?
Raza, have you asked this question to me? Okay. Okay, when every country in the world has a fault lines, I mean, it's not debatable. I mean, it's a fact that yes, we have fault lines, like we are religiously polarized country. We are divided into many sects and many school of thoughts. And unfortunately, after the Afghanistan, we are more radicalized. So when they are trying to hit our fault lines or trying to attack our fault lines, at that time, the best way to counter is that we have to put our house in order. I mean, we have to work on that fault lines. I mean, when we have to show more unity, and if we do not work on that fault lines, I mean, then it is not the fault of your enemy. I mean, it is it is our responsibility. And when they try to hit over, like a Balochistan, when they see, this is the duty. But what do you expect from your adversary? I mean, they will try to hit by all means, by all aspects. Okay, so when it comes to Balochistan, we cannot correlate Balochistan and Bangladesh. I mean, East Pakistan. There is no. I mean, I do not relate the totally different aspects, totally different ground reality, because the issue of the Balochistan is way before Pakistan was created. I mean, even at that time when there was a when there was a Britons here, they have some issues with these Baloch, and so we need to work on Balochistan, like for their prosperity. We have to uplift them, we have to educate them. The problem with us is that we engage their what we call their feudals and their tribe leaders. What we need to do is we need to work on the ground level. I mean, we need to educate their people. I mean, then the awareness will come, and then India will. I mean, when it will be useless for India to use the Baloch or and by the way, there are small amount of limited numbers of some Baloch. I mean, some Baloch leaders who are getting some amount from outside. I mean, it is वो एक Baloch ने कहा था कि आप एक सवाल के ऊपर के जी आप इंडिया से मदद लेते हैं, उसने कहा जी मैं तो इब्लीस से भी ले लूंगा मदद, आप इंडिया की बात करते हैं. तो we need to work on that. I mean, आम बलोची से अगर आप बात करें तो बलोची से ज्यादा मेरा नहीं ख्याल कि पाकिस्तान के ऊपर कोई जान और दे सकता है, ठीक है, क्योंकि मेरी नानी भी बलोच है. तो हमें अपनी फ्रंट लाइंस के ऊपर हमें अपना घर, हमें अपना वो सब कुछ खुद डिफेंड भी करना है, खुद हमें बचाना है, ना कि हम ये एक्सपेक्ट करें कि क्योंकि मेरा मेरा दुश्मन हमेशा आपको उस जगह पे हिट करता है जहां पे आप कमजोर होते हैं। लेकिन अच्छी बात ये है कि उनके तमाम रिसोर्सेज के बावजूद, तमाम तर साजिशों के बावजूद आज भी हम कायम व दायम है और हमेशा कायम व दायम रहेंगे इंशाल्लाह। जी राजा।
Thank you very much, Abdul Samad Yaqub. Now we wanted to go towards Athar Kazmi. He joined us earlier, but I think now he has reached some. He was driving. He has reached. I had a message from him that I have reached somewhere where there is a very poor service he's provided with, and it would not be possible for him to join. But some other time we can. I think we have. Yeah, there is. We have Shabana Fayaz, and we would request Ma'am Shabana Fayaz to please join us. And if you can, if you have something related to the topic, and we would welcome your thoughts, please. Thank you.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum. I hope I am audible. Yes, I've been traveling to Khairpur since yesterday, and that's why I've switched off my video, because I'm very tired, and but I wanted to attend it. It's a brilliant discussion that's going on, and I think we need to study and research the 1971 war and the Pakistan's perspective on it, as well as the interpretations and the propaganda by other countries. But my main question has always been to my students as well, how we move forward. We have seen the new latest movie that has come, Khel Khel Mein, a brilliant production. They're giving a new turn that the Pakistan lost East Pakistan because of the conspiracy and the interpretations or intervals by India. I agree with that, and I have no questions to that. And even last year, before coming to Khairpur, I took a delegation to Army Military Institute. And we also discussed 1971 war as well, because they are rewriting and looking innovatively at the 1971 war issue and how Pakistan soldiers fought very bravely. But again, the question that comes to my mind is that despite the acrimony, the wounds that cannot be obviously felt by the families of those who have suffered and the Pakistanis at large, as a South Asian, how can we forge the peace bridges with our neighbors? And specifically, I'm talking in context of India and Afghanistan. And there have been trouble spots, and we most of the time being blamed for their instability as well. And of course, the Bangladesh, we have come up to the stage that we are forging healthy ties with Bangladesh. And even recently our team visited Bangladesh and has come up very successfully there. I've met Bangladesh, I've traveled to, met Bengalis and met the people as well, and engaged with some of their think tanks as well. They also suffer this crisis of definition of history, and specifically the West Pakistan role in East Pakistan at that time. And we are very clear on that. But how to move forward? This is a very, very big task. And I salute the people like Ms. Amna Malik and the other institutes who are working on it and giving a new turn, a better version, a better interpretation of an oral history of this episode. And like I've just heard excellent presentations and a discourse by Shaheed Sahab and others. This is very, very useful for people like us who mentor the students and also the others. The best part is, I still wonder whether we will live this age, that how our new generation will interpret. And this is the hybrid warfare age that we are living in. And here the role of media and the propaganda through social media is very important. It can be a positive or a negative. I think the Pakistan has really have to pull its sleeves up and be more pragmatic and proactive with the social media accounts and online and the cyber age. Of course, Raja Saab is swinging his hat because he belongs to the media side, and they're doing a marvelous job. But we need more of writings. Our new generation, let's admit, does not read. and we do it on daily basis. I have also given 2-page articles to them just to make them move, and reading sessions. So mentors have to play the role, but so does the civil society. And I think the oral history is very good. The more we interact with Bangladesh as well as India and the other countries, because eventually we want Pakistan to be a peaceful and a stable country. And thank you once again for giving me an opportunity. And I will really apologize because my comments were not prepared. And I am just giving my humble inputs here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shabana. And I think you rightly mentioned that there is this movie called Khel Khel Mein. Normally, I'm not a movie freak, but last week I actually watched it on cinema, and it was excellent. And I think it gave me a different thought about how things were moved in 1971. And there were things which could be dealt differently, but whatever we could have done at that time, of course, India had invested too much on East Pakistan, because they knew that if they put the things rightly, and if they create a sort of hatred between both of the sides of Pakistan, they will be successful, and eventually they were. But obviously, today's generation of Pakistan and today's generation of Bangladesh, they need to sit together, and they need to figure out that we were a same heart, and out of blue, India invested on breaking that heart. That heart got broken in 1971. If we can't, join the heart once again, at least we can try to mend it. And today's Bengalis, they are our brethren. We would always, like to sit with them. And I think the right forums are sitting together and try to figure out what went wrong. And whatever happened, of course, we are two different countries now, but still, we can forget about everything happened in the past, and we can move on in a positive way. That we come towards a vote of thanks. I want to thank everyone for joining us, but I really want to highlight a few of the aspects which we discussed today, especially about Major Shahryar. He highlighted about the sacrifices which were made by army personnel, individuals who were out there far away from homes, trying to fight for the land, for Pakistan, for green flag, for the idea of Pakistan. And I think they fought gallantly, and it's not I'm saying it, it's the man who mattered the most at that time, my enemy, Manik Shaw, General Manik Shaw. He said it, that we fought gallantly, and there is no doubt about it. All we can do is we can cherish the way our soldiers, our officers, they fought for the nation, knowing the fact that the situations to fight were very odd, but still they carried on. And the aspects which were highlighted by Major Shahryar, of course, he highlighted that in today's times, we need to be extra cautious about whatever is happening in Balochistan and in KPK as well. And throughout Pakistan, enemy is still trying to penetrate hatred amongst us, so that it can be easier. It can be, it can be easier for my enemy to penetrate in Pakistan and split it more. But we will never allow him to do it. Then we had Samad. Samad obviously highlighted the importance of hybrid war, importance of the propaganda which gets propagated from India, and he also highlighted the facts that, of course, we had a split at that time, but we can always go for positivities. We can grab on positive things. The positive thing was that we did fight. We gave our enemy a bloody nose in 1971, the same way we gave a bloody nose in 2019. He didn't say it, I just exaggerated it. Then, of course, we had Dr. Shabana. Dr. Shabana highlighted a very good point that today's generation, they need to be aware of what happened, and they need to, of course, move on with a positive sense out of it. And of course, what happened in 1971, we still remember it, but normally we only highlight the odd things of it. We don't highlight the positive things of it. We did learn from our past, and that's why we have moved on well. But I think important was that if we had a lesson out there, we actually learned from it, and we moved on. And I think it's time that we just need to grab on the positivities of whatever happened in 1971, and we must cherish the sacrifices made by our Pakistan Army, made by armed forces, and they fought gallantly, and we should and we must cherish that. I thank you all, whoever joined us. And I thank once again our President COPAIR that she came up with this idea. She discussed with me, and we both of them, we worked on it, and she provided us this excellent environment and excellent platform to highlight everything out of it. Thank you very much for watching this. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.